You're listening to the CDL Files, brought to you by Driver's Legal Plan. Our show is hosted by Marilyn Surber and Brad Klepper, and we're really glad you joined us. Come along for the ride as we delve into some interesting corners of the trucking world. Let's open the CDL Files.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the CDL Files. I am so excited today to be joined by my friends and industry colleagues, Christy Choice and Justin Copeland of the Carrier Code Podcast. We're going to be talking about what is the Carrier Code Podcast, this new thing, what kind of stuff are they stirring up in the industry? They're movers and shakers, and I couldn't be prouder of them and couldn't be happier that they are here with us today. Christy, we're going to start with you. Just tell us a little bit about you, Christy, one of the hosts of the Carrier Code Podcast.
Thank you, Marilyn. Well, I am so excited to be here as well. And so I've been in the transportation industry for about 7 years, working in facet of client success at Tenstreet. And I've had lots of really wonderful success, and I've learned a lot about the industry. And it just so happens that my path intersected with Justin and with Rocco, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. But we were able to determine that there was a need for an additional forum where we just came together to discuss all things industry, just to shake it up a little bit and to give some new perspective. And so the Carrier Code Podcast was born shortly thereafter. So we're really proud of what we've accomplished so far. Yeah, we have a shared love of trucking, and it came together, and we're having a really great time.
Justin, tell us about your bag.
So I got into trucking. This is actually my 22nd year in trucking. I got out of college, and first economic downturn was happening in Michigan, and I had to pay my bills, right? So what do? I go out and I get my CDL. And I remember at that time telling my girlfriend, I'm like, I'm going to do this for like 6 months, and then I'll get a job along my my degree, which is criminal justice law enforcement. Well, that took 3 years before any department in Michigan started hiring again. So there I am driving truck. First part of my career was just under 9 years behind the wheel. Drove a bunch of different things from flatbed to reefer, dry van, tanker, a lot of stuff. And then my last driving job was actually with an LTL carrier. That's where I got my opportunity to get out of the truck. First stepped into an operations role, taken over as a terminal manager at the terminal that I was a driver at, then was asked about getting into safety. And I remember that conversation too, because they asked me, what do you know about safety? I'm like, nothing, like only what I know as a driver and a little bit from, running an operation, right? And I said, but if you're willing to teach me, I'm willing to learn. Let's go. And, the rest is history. I mean, I've done everything from regional safety manager to environmental health and safety manager, director of safety, recruiting, compliance, stuff like that. Now I'm a vice president of safety over at United Road, North America's largest auto hauler. Great company. Really enjoy being there.
Awesome. And we have a third host of the Carrier Code Podcast who is, I think, at Tank Truck Week this week. And so he is not available to join us. But that one of you tell us about Rocco. He has a very celebrated background as well. So
So our third is Rocco Marari. He is the VP of sales over at Pedigree Technologies. And so he rounds out our little group really, really well. And we're missing him today, but we know he got to do what he's got to do.
That's right. I love it.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. People, industry powerhouses, all of you in your own right, joined together and very different backgrounds, which, again, makes for a great, great conversation. And so how did you guys, your paths intersected? How did that happen? How did your paths intersect? How did you guys get together?
Well, hold on, Marilyn. I love to say that Justin is the glue that brought us together. Right? Because he has really great relationships with folks in the industry. And I had worked with Justin before, and we happened to be at a conference, and it was like, hey, you're here, I'm here, hey. And we sat and we chit-chatted for a while. And the outgoing lead ATA class, it was an ATA conference, of course, and the outgoing class was there. We're able to sit in on the activities, and we kind of were like, I think we should do this next year, right? And so we made that promise to each other at that conference. And then the next year when we checked in, and I was like, I know Justin did it. I know I did it. We're going to move forward. And then he had been telling other folks about it. One of those was Rocco. Rocco did it, and we were all in the same class. And the Lead ATA program is sponsored by Driver's Legal Plan Intention. And so, really, I love that. First of all, the ATA is doing a whole lot of really, really great work, but we were the beneficiaries of being able to sit there, learn, be exposed to a really wonderful program, apply for the program, get into it, and then now we're sitting here having launched our own podcast. So really, really exciting.
It is super cool. LEAD is a great program, and I agree. The content that ATA is putting out, the programs, they're
Mhm.
amazing. And this is really, I feel like, the results of those programs. We do spend a lot of time when we're in the industry. There's no shortage of events or associations to be a part of
Yeah.
in trucking, and so we spend a lot of time on the road and go and benchmarking and talking to other folks. And if you're, on the supplier side, like we are, Christy, uncovering needs of that carriers have and
Yes.
those types of things. And I think these are the unintended consequences, all some of the positive stuff
Yeah.
that comes out of that. I mean, we build real relationships with each other out there on the road, right? I mean, you guys,
Absolutely.
again, this is that outside of the lead ATA
Yeah.
program, but going into it having like, okay, we know each other, we're happy. And I've seen you guys at events since then, right? And you
Yep.
guys are in your little, you're in your little group, you have
Yep.
your built-in network.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, with both of you guys, my relationship and how we connected was through associations and going to these conferences and the networking piece. So we can't say enough about getting out there and being a member, taking advantage of some of these conferences. And yes, the sessions are fantastic. You'll learn a lot of great stuff. The networking is invaluable. Invaluable. Now it was great because you guys both work or did work for one of my biggest vendors. So it was always great to have you guys as resources to be able to bounce things off of. And then of course Rocco is a current vendor as well. But Rocco's been in a couple different places. He spent a lot of time there at EBE, and then he made the move over to Pedigree Technologies. The front end of his work career was he was a cop and detective for 15
Right.
years.
Yeah.
You know, and he found his way into trucking. It's This industry just finds people, and it has a way of just making sure that you stay here.
That's right.
You
If
know,
you're good and you care and you will work hard, we keep you, right? It's like, nope, you're
yeah,
Yes.
not leaving. You've got to stay here with us. No, absolutely. But also, trucking rejects people who aren't, or they
hmm
reject
Yeah.
us because they're like, you guys are working too hard.
Not
You're
for
having a little
me.
bit too much
Yeah.
fun. I don't want a part of that.
Yeah. It's
yeah,
definitely a commitment, that's for
That's
sure,
right.
right? But once you get into the industry, it's really, really, you can tell pretty quickly if it's going to be for you or not. And so lots of folks are pretty long tenured or they're in it and they're just overwhelmed and fascinated by all of the components of the trucking industry. And I feel like I could consider myself in that bucket, right? Everything just fascinated me from the beginning. And I had folks really, really advocating for me to get out there and to learn more and to travel and be exposed to the industry. And I mean, it's been a really, really wild ride, but I love it.
Yeah, you're a trucker. You're one of us. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah.
So you said, Christy, you articulated it very well. You guys came together and you said there's a need for this, right? There's a need for a different voice out there. And so what what is the carrier code? What's the dream of the carrier code podcast? That's question number 1. And then the second question is, where did you come up with that name? So just
Okay.
those are the two
All
questions.
right. So Christy had mentioned how we joined Lead, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that you were probably one of the ones that kept poking me to do the Lead program. So thank you, Marilyn. It's
Yes,
been
you're
great.
welcome.
We've enjoyed this last year. It's been a lot of fun. The other folks in the Lead class, we've built great relationships with, and I think those will be friendships and colleagues in the industry for a very long time. But yeah, we were part of the Lead ATA class this year, and part of it is doing a group project. One of the big things that you have to do. So we're here in DC, and we end up breaking up into our little groups, which we
And you
knew
guys
right
have to
when.
decide that early on in the process?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't realize
absolutely
that.
we
That's
do.
interesting
Yeah.
because you don't really know each other that well yet, right?
Yeah. No, well, I mean, we knew each other, yes.
Yes, okay,
But certainly our bond has definitely strengthened over the time here through Lead because we
yeah,
spend so much time together.
right.
But so we're sitting there. Well, first of all, we show up and we know we're going to do this group project, and we all sit next to each other, and we're like, "Hey, we're three of us are going to be on a group, right? Like that's just all right, cool. Let's do that." And I remember we break out into these separate groups, and we're supposed to be doing some exercise. And Christy, I can't even remember what it was, but I know it wasn't that great. But we were supposed to be doing some exercise and coming up with our group project. And I think we sat there, and I don't even know that it took us 1 minute. We all looked at each other and we said, we're going to do a podcast. Why not?
All right.
Let's do a podcast, right? Because of, as you mentioned early, is our unique perspectives, I think, just really, really lends to quality input and viewpoints and perspectives of the industry. And so we said, yeah, let's do a podcast. I remember we taped our first episode, just us, and had one of the folks that works for me ended up editing it and cutting it down because we had to have a 5-minute presentation for Scottsdale. There's a mid-year. So we go out. Christy's I say she's the social media maven of our group, right? Because yes, I'm on social media. She's definitely a lot better at it than the rest of us. So she's teasing it. Hey, big things are going to happen. Big things are going to happen. So we show up in Scottsdale and people are asking us, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And so we had to kind of keep it under wraps a little bit until we did the presentation. Then after that, we did the presentation. We got a lot of great feedback, and we decided that day after, later on that afternoon, we're going to do this. Let's do this. It was just an idea at that point. We didn't know what we didn't know, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the idea, Marilyn, is that we wanted to bottle these conversations, these takeaways that you have when you're at a conference and you're there. You might be at the bar or you might be out to dinner, and there's so much rich conversation that's happening in that moment, right? That doesn't happen from the main stage. It happens when we're just talking and having a good time, right? And so we wanted to kind of bottle that and bring it to a podcast, right? Where you just feel like you're chit-chatting with some folks and you got a bottle of water, smoothie, drink, whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
But you're there and you're like learning about the industry, right? Because that's how I've learned a lot of things. And that's how, again, we share perspectives. And so we were like, instead of just choosing one topic that would kind of keep us boxed in, why not choose a medium that's going to transcend the topics? And therefore, the Carrier Code podcast was born. And Justin, I think you came up with the name, if I'm not mistaken. He suggested quite a few names, and Carrier Code just popped out to us. And so I don't know if there was a lot of rhyme or reason to the name, but here it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
just
the
something
Carrier
unique,
Code.
just a lot of those different names that I put out there. We're just trying to come up with something kind of fresh and different. And Chrissy, I don't mean to embarrass you, but this is funny. As we were making the graphic for our class, or for our project, I mean, Christy sends it out. Rocco and I, we give our input. We're like, yeah, we love it. We love it. We love it. None of us saw that there was an extra R in there.
Carrier Code.
Yeah.
It's like
we
an
were just so
optical
enamored with it.
illusion, right? You're like, I know there's supposed to be 2 R's, so that's what I see, right? Like,
Hilarious. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's so funny. Well, I like that because what you said is, kind of bottle that energy, because it is like a burst of energy when you go to those events. I mean, they're long days and long nights, and you're tired when you get back, but you are also re-energized. And, I don't know about you guys, but my cup is always fuller than it was when I got there, when I leave, it definitely is. And so I think it's like, how do you bottle that? But you don't have to get on a plane and go across the country and spend 4 days at a conference. It's such a great idea. And it's like asking those questions that maybe you don't want to ask it sitting in a conference room. You're not having the conversation, with people, but you can bring the person, on the podcast, and you can then have that conversation to share with 300 people, because you can bring that off the stage, to your point, to say, well, let's really get into it now. Like, let's get into this nitty gritty, and ask those questions, but bottle that energy
and challenge one another.
Yeah.
Bring in the perspectives. And it's really interesting because I don't know that we thought it would be it would turn into this, right?
Okay.
We just kept going, moving forward, but we knew we wanted to create a space, and there are no shortage of opinions in trucking.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of folks who want to throw their 2 cents in, and we want to create an open forum where these are our opinions. This is our thoughts behind things. We want to learn. We want to grow. We also just want to discuss like the hot topics and industry best practices and how to move forward with certain ideas as we continue to want to see trucking grow and prosper, right? I think that's the goal. We want to see it move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a great point, because you guys are doing this independently of your companies or ATA, right? So this is
Yes.
the Carrier Code the Carrier Code podcast. That's the business, right? That's a business, and that it represents Justin and Christy and Rocco and the Carrier Code podcast, which gives you
Yes.
guys, that also gives you a unique perspective, right? To have the experience and the background you have, but then to be able to represent your opinion, and your thoughts and ideas, on this podcast is
Yes.
pretty special, right? Because you get to,
Yeah.
kind of have the best of both worlds, leverage the best
Well,
of both worlds.
and to have great guests on
Yeah.
like yourself, right? And being able to share, your generational differences presentation and share that with everybody. I know that's something that you've told us multiple times. You've been speaking on it for a very long time. But like Christy said, right? It's making sure that those conversations that happen outside of the conference kind of happen there. A nice, comfortable place to talk about, what's going on in the industry right now. Current events right now is just kind of wild. So that's
Right.
definitely a good topic to continually bring up. But there are so many great people to have on, and share their perspective from uniquely different viewpoints inside of the industry,
Yeah.
whether it be
Absolutely.
vendor or association or carrier.
So, in that vein, who is your dream guest? You can each have your own. It doesn't have to be the same.
Ooh, I would say
That's a
Chris
unique
Spear.
Chris
I would
Yeah.
say
Spear?
Chris Spear. I want to talk to Chris. I just think the ATA is super fascinating, and we're living in a current political state that is
Mhm.
a lot of opinions, a lot of things going on. But I think that this is the stuff ATA wants to see move forward and make headlines
Man.
so that we can kind of push trucking forward for the sake of our economy, right? And so I would love to kind of chit chat with Chris on Carrier Code podcast one day, and I'm speaking it out into the atmosphere.
You're
It's gonna
get
happen.
him. I
It's
mean,
gonna
Let's
happen.
do it.
born from an ATA program, of course.
Absolutely.
Right?
Right?
Spear wants to
Right?
come.
He
It's
should just
only
wanna
right.
come on.
It's only
absolutely.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great choice, Christy. And that is the most realistic, high-reaching choice is to get Chris on there. So I'm going to reach a little higher. Right now, current Secretary Duffy, but
Okay.
anybody that's holding that position to get somebody at a high-level government position that affects our industry would be a dream guest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dream guest.
Absolutely.
Now, there's going to be some serious networking to try and make that happen. But
Yeah. Hey, well, it's we know a lot of people in the administration, so that's good, so it's good to have friends in high places. So but like Christy said, breathe it out there, into the
Yeah.
atmosphere. And this administration really is. We were in DC last week for the Truckload Carriers Association call in Washington, and had great meetings on the Hill. And this administration is very invested in transportation.
Mhm.
And in the weeds of, transportation. So we were happy to see, Derek Bars got confirmed. So that's exciting stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
no shortage
that
of
is.
folks, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, well, I'm gonna be rooting for you guys. I'm gonna think about who my 6 degrees of separation is between me and Secretary Duffy and see if there's any way I can help close the gap.
Yes.
Right.
Pull those strings.
Pull
We can
those
do
Yeah.
it.
strings. That's right. All the way down to Florida. We can
Absolutely.
pull 'em up. Okay, so this has been a really good conversation. I love hearing what you guys are doing. I'm excited for you guys, and I'm excited about the direction of this, and for all three of you, right? And what this means for the next stage of your career. And so, kudos to you guys for making it happen. And like you said, Justin, it was just an idea then, and you guys are, you're the 1%. You took the idea and you're turning it into actions. Kudos to you. And so if we want to find you and we want to be a part of this revolution, where do we go? How do we do that?
So you can find us on all social media channels. We're just at Carrier Code Podcast. But if you want to give us some feedback directly or just you can go to our website, carriercodepodcast.com. Go to YouTube. We're Carrier Code Podcast. We're Carrier Code Podcast everywhere. Everywhere, and it will direct you to find us, to find our episodes that we've released already. New episodes released every week, so we are thrilled about it. But before we go, Marilyn, I just want to say thank you to Driver's Legal Plan. Thank you to you and to Brad for being such supporters, not of just of Carrier Code Podcast, but also of programs like the Lead ATA. So anyway, Just thank you
No,
so
we
much for
appreciate
everything
that.
you are to the industry.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
it takes us all to push things forward and to
Mhm.
really highlight and celebrate one another for everything that we have going on. So thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
It really
Yeah.
does. It really does take all of us, which is, and we're happy to do it. Driver's Legal Plan and, both Brad and I, this is really our heart and our passion as well. And so we love you guys, personally and professionally. So anything we can do to support you, we want to do it. But also the industry, because it does take all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
we have some real stuff going on in our industry right
Mhm.
now,
Real
and
stuff.
it takes all of us and all hands on deck to make it better, but we will make it better, right? And so
Yeah.
I believe it.
Takes community.
takes community. Any closing thoughts, anything that you have to say today on this podcast that the audience needs to hear?
Well, I'll drop one more way to get a hold of us. And certainly, if you would like to be a guest on the show, but you can email us at knowthecode@carriercodepodcast.com. That is a great way to give us feedback and just any general feedback on state of your industry. If you want some maybe some advice or access to some of the content, things like that, reach out to us at knowthecode@carriercodepodcast.com.
Any closing comments, statements?
No, we missed Rocco today, but we know
Good.
he's doing what he's got to do. But we're just really excited for the future. We love the CDL files. We love Driver's Legal Plan, and really want to see the industry continue to grow, thrive, and just kick butt doing it. So
Love it.
excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much. And thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of the CDL Files.